sprint races will be, I think, the next 7 races that we officially wind up doing here in Stage 4. And then after this, I will follow this up by doing the SUV races. However, before then, let's head straight over to our first sprint race. And this one to me looks like the nearest, so I will start here. I keep forgetting there's a wall there with those palm trees. Anyway, here we go. And it comes from Arnell. I suppose you can run with us, if you've got the bread and the stones. Let me ask you a question though. Does the circus clown you took that ride from know it's missing yet? Arnell, this is far from a circus ride, and I can assure you, this is a car which I literally spent less than 40 grand on, making sure that everything has worked up to this point, and I'm fairly confident in saying it will work again, and I will demolish you. So we get an Audi A3, a Toyota Supra, and last but not least, a Ford Focus as our competition for Sprint Race 1 of Stage 4. I also believe there's a total of 7 sprint races we need to do here. At least as far as I know, there is 7 sprint races in Stage 4. And already I am taking the lead. I have taken the lead, and I am now pulling away with an advantage, as I would have expected. So far, so good. Hopefully, I can manage to achieve more than this. And since we're now past the worst cornering section here in Jackson Heights, I reckon the rest of this run should be okay. Since I am already less than 7 seconds ahead of Bob, who is running in second, ahead of Henry, and I think it's Arnell who's running in 4th. Huh, what do you know? I was correct. It is Arnell who's running in 4th. That actually surprises me for once. And it looks as though, once again, I'm going to absolutely delaminate my competition. I've said this many times before, and I will say it again, but the reason for this is because I'm doing this on the easy difficulty. I've done the whole of this profile on the easy difficulty, since this is not the profile of this game I had before, but ultimately, well, I basically just chewed up and spat out my opponents basically during almost every single event in this game, with the exception of the drag races, because, well, the drag races are a different animal. How the fuck did I avoid that taxi? If I was even a few inches closer, I would have no doubt slammed into him and basically killed myself, but I somehow didn't. Anyway, doesn't matter. Point is, I win the first sprint race. Bob was second in the Ford Focus. I think that's short for Barbara. Henry was third, and it was Arnell who came home fourth. So, Arnell, you can literally kiss my ass. I'm also now going to get a replay, just because I figure, well, the sooner I get this out of the way, the sooner I won't have to worry about doing this again. But so far, so good. I will also be trying to see if I can elevate this car up to 6 stars on the visual rating. Which, by the way, is something I will have to do at some point. Okay. Well, I reckon these shots of my car on the mountain, I'd say they're pretty decent ones, even though a lot of them are close-up shots. But again, I reckon there are some angles that seem to work better than others. Even then, if a lot of the replay angles seem to be a bit too up close with some of the pictures. I'm not saying it's like that with all of them, but with most of them, that's kind of proven to be the case. Although that's just what I think, but, you know. There are some close-up shots that seem to work better than others, is what I think. Okay, I think that's enough now. So, one sprint race of Stage 4 is now complete, and we should have another 6 races to go, if I recall correctly. Huh, the cover of Stuff magazine. Hey, we've now got some more exhaust tips. I might also consider raising this car up to 6 stars on the visual rating once I'm done with the SUV races. Okay, let's continue.
Stuff magazine, have you heard of it? They're taking stills of everything around. Score big and the front sheet is yours.
Rachel, I have heard of Stuff magazine because it was ironically the last company who officially I got a magazine cover with in the previous Underground. I've very much heard of Stuff magazine. Just to answer your question. Look what the cat dragged in. You know we ain't playing no video games here, bro. Teehee. This one's for real bank, and I'm the one collecting it. I'll be waiting at the finish line with my feet up. Try to get there before I fall asleep. Dave, I think you will be waiting for me to fall asleep before you get to the finish line, because like with everything else I've done up to this point in Stage 4, and because I am doing this on the easy difficulty, the whole of Stage 4 on the easy difficulty, I'm gonna absolutely whoop your ass. So we get a VW Golf GTI, a Nissan Skyline. I can't quite see what the 4th car is. I think it's a Nissan Sentra, but I don't know for sure. I'll probably know by the time we get to the end of this race. Or you can literally tell me what the 4th car is in the comments if you're really that inclined to inform me of what cars were in each of these races. Although, personally, I really don't care. It's basically just a matter of me making sure that my car is good enough to basically stonk the competition. So Marcel is currently in second, Michelle is third, and Dave is running in last. So basically, by the time I get to the finish of this thing, I'm going to be asking for Dave to see how many dollars he has in his wallet for me to bank out of this thing with, because I have a feeling this is going to be another race which I will easily win. And I do. And that only took me 1 minute and 40 seconds to get that run done. Oh, it was an RX-8. Okay. The fourth car was a Mazda RX-8. Again, I could not see that car from the intro. Michelle was third in the Nissan Skyline GTR, and it was Dave who finished fourth in the Volkswagen Golf GTI. It still sucks to say that the maximum number of rep points you can get from each race in this game, determined by domination, is only 300. I really do wish it could be possible to make it more than that. As in basically getting the bigger reputation points regarding the overall number of seconds that you win by. Not to say that wouldn't cause confusion, but it would be nice if the overall race events were able to give out more than 300 rep points for the maximum amount of rep you can earn from winning each race. Anyways, 2 races down. And now I will move on to event number 3. There could just be a total of 4 sprint races I need to do here. But then again, I wouldn't consider that to be the first time. Anyways, coming from Carl. Look here, a sprint is about to get underway. You still have time to get it on it, if you got the coin. Like always, SMS route will be sent to you once you've put your bank down. And we will be travelling 5 miles in this sprint. So in other words, this is probably going to take me at least 2.5 minutes to put the whole run together. Probably 3 minutes. Anyway. So we got 2 Hyundais, and what's the third car? A 240SX. So we got 2 Hyundai Tiburons and 1 Nissan 240SX. And as ever, I am steadily but surely pulling away from my competition, because this is on the easy difficulty, and you need to basically do all of the races on the easy difficulty in stage 4. And with most of them, you literally need to absolutely stonk your competition in order to get the required sponsor you need for 100% completion. And yes, I did just use up most of my nitrous there because fuck me. Can I please stop wrecking? I would really like it right now if I could stop wrecking my car. That would be very helpful if I could stop wrecking my car at this stage. Anyways, going back to the point I was on before, you basically do need to do all the stage 4 races on the easy difficulty, and you basically need to win most of the timed races by at least 8 seconds or more in order to get maximum rep points for most of these. I am really thinking about restarting this, because even though I've led this whole run from start to finish, in all honesty, it's been pretty terrible because of how many times I've already crashed. Because I'm pretty sure that's now the 4th time I've had an accident of some sort which I've not been able to avoid. And if this isn't enough to get me... well, at least I predicted it was going to take me 2.5 minutes. But yeah. And it was a field of mostly Hyundais. But it's okay. In spite of how terrible that run went, I still managed to walk away with the max rep points. And now, I think we get more sprint races once we're done with the next one. Or if we don't, then, well, that's basically the end of the segment. But anyway, do we get any more? And we do get another one up in Jackson Heights. Okay, let's now head over to Beacon Hill to get to race number 4. And here it is, right by the gas station. Sprint race number 4. And this message is coming from Al. You heard? To all you out there reading in sprints, you know the drill. Bank equals SMS route, so don't delay and commit. I will immediately commit to your offer, Al. I should also mention there is a very well-known sports commentator by the name of Al Michaels. So we get a Toyota Supra, a Nissan 240SX, and I think that's a Ford Mustang I see there on the left-hand side. At least I'm pretty sure, judging by the shape and design, it had to be the 04 Mustang. It was the latest generation of Mustang at the time. I believe it was the Gen 5, if I'm not mistaken. So our competition is Gary, Colleen, and Al as our opponents in this race, and Al, as I would have expected, is running at the back of the pack. I was also pretty sure in the previous Underground, Al was driving a Honda Civic. He could be the same guy again. Although most of these names aren't from the original Underground, so, you know, there are differences, but to me at least, it sounds familiar. And crossing the line, I think it would have been 176 had it not been me crossing over onto the pavement. Hey, I was right. The other car was a Ford Mustang. Okay, so I win by 9.44 seconds over Gary. Colleen was third in the Ford Mustang GT, and it was Al who came home fourth in the Toyota Soup. So 300 rep points and 1200 bank points. And now we shall continue. As next up, we have got to head to the top of Jackson Heights for race number 5. Unless there's another one that pops up before then. And there is another one that pops up before that one, as that race is located here, further down the mountain. So that is where I will head first. On to race number 5 in the sprint. On to race number 5 in the sprints. Here is sprint race number 5, and it comes from Rashid. I've read that message before, I don't need to read it again tonight. The only thing that really matters to me right now is just getting these last 3 races over and done with. And then I will be able to focus on getting through the Stage 4 SUV races. So we get an Audi TT, a Lancer Evo 8, and a Pontiac GTO as our competition here in sprint race number 5 of Stage 4. I think one more is going to pop up on the map at some point. I believe it was 7 I did before, although it could have been 6, but I'm pretty sure it was 7 which I did before. And this is now sprint race number 5. So it is edging closer and closer to me reaching 7 sprint races. Because I did all of these before. And looks as though this is the only direction I can take. The other direction has been blocked by the arrows, and it looks as though I'm going to pull this off pretty easily, and I'm so glad that did not get any worse. Anyways, in the air. And there we go. With a top speed of 177 at the line, I win with a time of 1:41.28. Over Wesley in the Pontiac GTO, Rashid was third in the Mitsubishi, and Rob came home fourth in the Audi TT. We are doing very well at the moment. However, the job's not done yet. I also really hope the 7th sprint race is not going to pop up down in Cole Harbour, because if it does, then, well, I will not be a happy camper, knowing that I have got to. Okay, it doesn't. And yep, I was right. There is 7 sprint races. So, let's now head over to the next one, which is just underneath the other sprint race. I've been moving along very nicely. Anyways, this is probably going to be the longest of the bunch. Oh man, this race is a sprint, not a crawl. Maybe I should call Rachel and borrow a real car so I have a little competition. Lee, I strongly suggest you take those words back, because this is no ordinary car. As a matter of fact, this is probably even more of an unordinary car than Herbie. So we get a Nissan Skyline, a Mitsubishi Eclipse, and last but not least, we get a Hyundai Tiburon, also known as the Hyundai Coupe to anyone who lives in Europe like I do. Well, geologically lives in Europe in terms of the continent. Well, known as the Hyundai Coupe to us PAL region gamers, if you will. Even though I'm pretty sure the NTSC and PAL regions don't exist anymore in terms of video game releases. Still, it was a popular thing at the time in the 90s and 2000s when they had those regions. I think they probably stopped doing it when they stopped producing the PlayStation 2 in, I think it was 2013, when they officially stopped production for the PlayStation 2. And then I think it was 2017 when they stopped production for the PlayStation 3. At least I know that was when they took the PlayStation 3 off the shelf. But anyway, I am steadily pulling away from my competition, and it looks as though this race is going to be another done deal before it's even started, basically. And our other opponents in this race are William and Denny. I should also mention, there is a well-known NASCAR driver by the name of Denny Hamlin, and he does a podcast series called Actions Detrimental. And if you are one of my viewers who is also a NASCAR fan, then I do recommend you check out Actions Detrimental, because his podcast is very useful when it comes to pointing out the good things and the bad things regarding modern NASCAR as we know it today. But still, it's a pretty good podcast series, and if you do get the time, then well, you can basically watch the episodes in full on the Actions Detrimental YouTube channel. I should also mention, Denny does do a pretty good job with that podcast series as well, if you want my personal opinion. Plus it does also give a lot of the newer fans something to talk about and relate to. Anyway, so William came home second, Denny was third in the second Tiburon, and it was Lee who came home fourth in the Mitsubishi Eclipse. And now, if I recall correctly, we have just one sprint race left. And then once we're done with that, that will pretty much be all of the Stage 4 sprint races done and dusted. And then I can move on to the SUV races, which is what I plan on doing next. Because, as you may know, I gotta include the SUV races. There's no way I can physically miss those out. Especially if you're using the same SUV as what I used, which in case you do or don't know is the Lincoln Navigator. So here it is. Final race. And it comes from Philip. And again, it's a description I've read before. I certainly don't need to read it again. And I think once we're done with this, we should have just, I think, 4 race types to go. Because we do also have to do the outruns at some point. So in this race we get a Nissan Sentra, a Nissan 240SX, and a VW Golf GTI as our competition here. And immediately I am pulling up into the lead. And so, it looks as though from here, I'm now going to pull away with me absolutely decimating the opposition as I have done so before. I know to some of you it might be a bit tedious knowing that I'm basically having to decimate the opposition here in each of the Stage 4 races which I've done up to this point, but I can assure you this will be worth it because we need some very big reputation points in terms of our average rap score if we are going to walk away with 100% completion. This is a necessary this is an essential measure in order for me to achieve that long elusive 100% which has not been achieved by many up to this point, but hopefully I will reach that 100% mark. It's not been achieved by many of the console gamers, but if I can manage to get there, then it is possible to say that a guy like me did actually manage to achieve the 100% completion, which for many years was thought to be impossible until the internet was able to prove that there were a couple of guys who did do it, but have never proven it on their consoles. Probably because they don't have YouTube channels like I do. Anyways, so Chong finished 2nd, Philip 3rd, and James was 4th in the Nissan Sentra. 300 rep points, 1200 bank points, that is all good. I also recorded my replay at the start, so we are all good in that department. And now, saving the game, and that should pretty much do it for the sprint races of Stage 4. As I now need to move on to the... we've now got, I think, the level 3 suspension unlocked. Anyways, it could just be level 2. Get the tightest handling on the streets. New top-of-the-line suspensions available exclusively at all Bayview Performance shops. I will consider fitting this once I am done with the SUV races. So we are now 45% complete with the game. And we've now got 101 races under our belt, and we are steadily closing in on the halfway mark of this game. So, the Stage 4 sprint races are now cleared, and next time we will be doing the Stage 4 SUV races, coming in the next episode.
No one can rise, I need speed when I'm racing that strip. I got the bullet in the chip, your car like something to strip.